Welcome to the Private Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Storm, here to help you unlock the mind, business, and spirit of your private practice success. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to grow, this is the place for you if you really want to create a thriving private practice. Before we dive in, I want to share something that can really make a difference in your business. Imagine having an expert in your pocket, someone available on demand whenever you need guidance. Well, that's exactly what my new program, Practice Momentum, offers. With over 30 years of experience at your fingertips, you can now get the support you need whenever you need it. Curious? Head over to brooklynstorm.com to learn more. Welcome to another episode of the Private Practice Podcast. Just going to dive right in. Today I'm going to talk with you about, the concept of over-delivering. This is going to be helpful for you if your private practice is having trouble with things like low attendance numbers, right? So depending on where you go for data, it can vary. But on average, in a calendar year, most counsellors, psychologists, social workers would see a client between 10 and 20 times. As I said, it varies. It depends on the type of work you're doing, the modalities, the client group and things like that. But by and large, most people would see a counsellor maybe fortnightly. Usually it's weekly at the beginning and then fortnightly. But the research says that it's between 10 and 20 times in a calendar year. So if you're in private practice and you have low attendance, meaning maybe it's less than 10 times a year, it's going to put pressure on the business because you're going to have to be constantly replenishing all those people. We don't want to do that. Number one, that's not great for your business. It means you're going to have to be doing a lot more marketing. If you're someone who doesn't like marketing, or maybe you don't get great results from it, or maybe there's, feelings, maybe there's mindset, stuff like that around marketing that kind of gets in the way, like imposter syndrome or feeling like you don't want to be promoting, pushing, selling, all those kinds of things. Yeah, it can put you in a position where you've got to do more of that. It can affect the business financially, which then has a knock-on effect often to affecting you financially and anybody else that might be in your world, partners, children, things like that. And from a client perspective, again, caveats apply, depending on who you're working with and the modalities and things like that. I mean, obviously, if you're doing single session therapy, this does not apply to you. But it's also maybe potentially problematic for your clients if you kind of start working with them and then you're finishing before they've had a chance to really get the shift and to make that shift or that change or that transformation what we would call durable. So I hear sometimes from counsellors and psychologists and social workers say, my clients on average, I see my clients 5 times. And that's not even in a year. That's 5 times lifetime. I guess, when I'm saying to them, well, what's going on? Tell me about the 5 times and everything. They're saying to me, they just didn't need any more. It was low-level stuff. They didn't need any more. But they're working in niches that are quite complicated, like family therapy, perhaps, grief and loss, perhaps, things like that. And I guess my personal opinion and my training and my background is that, we have to start with somebody, and while that initial appointment might be called an intake or perhaps an assessment, and you might go deep with that. Maybe you do a 50, 60-minute appointment, maybe you do a 90-minute appointment. It's only the beginning, really, of an assessment, because I believe, and in my experience, again, that assessment continues for the first initial visits, really. When clients first come to us, they don't know us. They're there because they want help usually, unless, it's something different situation. I'm not talking about those clients, like clients who are mandated to be there and might not be motivated and things like that. I'm not talking about those, but generally they're there because they've made the decision that now's the time for them to get some help and some support. But in that first session, they're still building connection with you. They're still building trust. They're still building rapport. They're probably quite nervous about being there. And, there's only so much that they can share in that initial appointment. So it's been my experience. I've often found that while it's not technically a formal assessment in sessions 2 and 3, and maybe even 4 and 5, you're still learning about the client. More stuff is still coming out that's relevant to their treatment or their therapy or the interventions and the modalities that you're going to be using. So I don't always understand how some situations arise where with some private practices, it's the norm for them to be wrapping up very quickly with clients. I think what happens is we do a little bit of a disservice because it's like we've started the work and then for whatever reason, and it's different for everybody, but for whatever reason, that work is disrupted or halted or stopped or closed off, discontinued. And I guess I just worry, like, where do we leave those clients when that's happened? If we've only just started unpacking something. When I speak with women in private practice about, the average number of sessions that they would have with a client in a year, and we talk about what their number is, it's not uncommon for them to say to me things like, I just kind of say to clients, if they feel they need it, they should come back. And I'm like, okay. And then what happens? And I'll say, maybe I'll come back a few times, and then they just kind of drop out. And so it's finished. Well, I guess if you've got good business systems in place and you've got good business processes in place, this is where, we kind of go from the mindset of being a therapist over here to running a business over there, right? We can't run a business successfully with a therapist mindset. We need to be able to wear the two hats and move between them when it's appropriate. So, ideally, that shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't be having clients dropping out. Ideally, I'm saying ideally, theoretically. It happens when you don't understand because you haven't been taught or shown or learned yet some of the containers, if you want to call it that, or frameworks that the business needs to have in place to support the business, but to support the clients and also you. And so you're there, and what ends up happening is you're constantly feeling like you're marketing. You're constantly feeling like you're on tenterhooks because we need more clients. We need more money coming in. We need more people to help. We need to be, and you start like doing things out of almost anxiety, out of almost a desperation. And you do things that you think will help. Like you start posting more on Instagram, or you start posting more on Facebook, or you start posting more on your LinkedIn. You start doing all of those things. Or you pay for more Google ads, and maybe you're spending, $200 a week on your Google ads. You get inquiries and the people come, they go after 4 weeks, you don't see them again, and then we're back to running ads, and it's just ongoing. And so you're constantly feeling perhaps like you're on this hamster wheel of chasing, feeling behind, feeling like you're never on top of things, feeling like the business is directing you instead of perhaps you directing the business. And as I said, it happens, and it's really common. And there are lots of ways that you can prevent that from happening, okay, for lots of different reasons. And this is only one episode of the podcast, but there are so many episodes that we could do on this, right? It's called client retention, and it's not about trapping anybody. It's not about forcing anybody. It's not about selling. It's not about any of those things. Client retention is a metric that the business tracks in order to see what other activities the business needs to be doing. When the business understands retention and the activities it needs to be doing, then it can create resources, whether that's money, whether it's content, things like that, to address it, right? So it's just a metric, and the metric itself doesn't have a good energy or a bad energy. It is just a metric that you need to be tracking. I recommend that we have really good retention rates, and that would be the national average of, again, depending on industries and clients and niches and all those kinds of things, it would be between 10 and 20 appointments a year for a client. So when you've got that in place, it takes the pressure off. And there are lots of different ways that you can approach client retention in your business. Of course, client retention is always based on, like any of the things that you do in your therapy business, ethics. It's got to be done with the client's best interest in mind. We all have duty of care. Everything that we do needs to align with the codes, all those kinds of things. Absolutely. I'm not saying do anything unethical. I'm just giving you insight as to a business metric that maybe you might not be aware of, but you need to be aware of if you want to get out of this cycle of always saying, oh, I need more inquiries. I only had, 5 inquiries in the last fortnight. Practices that have good retention levels don't need 5 inquiries in a fortnight. They might be okay with 1 or 2 a week. They just don't need them. So if you're saying, well, I published my website last week and I still don't have a client, or I published my website 4 weeks ago and I still don't have any inquiries, or I need more, we've got a problem. So the retention can be impacted by all kinds of things. It's usually a business process or mindset. So business processes around the way that you work with clients, how you structure your services, the framework or the model of business that you're using, the type of clients that you're working with, the modalities, all those kinds of things. If you're operating under certain funding models, that can impact it as well. It's different for every business. But familiarizing yourself with this particular metric can really help you plan for your business, and it can get you out of overwhelm, and it can get you out of feeling like nothing's working. You may find yourself in overwhelm because, again, we're acting from that space of, I looked at my diary next week and there's only this many appointments and I really need this many. So now I better rush and I better hustle and I better scramble and I got to do all of these things to try and get a client. And when you're doing that, there's no focus. The thought isn't there. The planning isn't there. The strategy isn't there. You're doing it from desperation. When that happens, the things that you're putting out are less likely to convert because they haven't been as considered as if you did it with a clear mind, right? And so then you feel like it's still not working, and instead of pivoting and trying something else or something different perhaps, you just amp up and you do even more of what's not working. And this is really, really common. And it happens because there's just a lack of awareness really around, as I said, the businessy side of private practice. And that's what this podcast is about. It's to give you insights and to create awareness so that then you can, create a business that's going to work better for you and for your clients. Okay. One of the ways to, improve client retention, if it is something that you have noticed is a little bit of a problem for your business, is through this, I call it over delivering. And I've mentioned it previously in this podcast. To be completely honest with you, I don't remember if I dedicated an entire episode to it. I highly doubt it. I think it was mentioned as a strategy that I use in my business. And I want to share with you what it is and what it isn't, so that if it's something that sounds good to you and really resonates, you can introduce it. And over time, you may see that this contributes to better retention of clients. Okay. So, over delivering. I think sometimes when we hear the term over delivering, we think we've got to add more stuff, we've got to do more stuff. And in fact, this came up recently with a client of mine. She was saying to me that, she was really struggling with her practice, and she's a counsellor. She also does integrative therapy and she does Reiki and things like that. But she's really been struggling to get clients for a while. And she's shared with me all of the things that she's been trying to do. And she's exhausted, right? She's on the brink of burnout. It's not that she doesn't implement strategies. She does implement strategies. But, all the strategies that she's tried, they just don't seem to work for her for one reason or another. And anyway, she heard on my podcast that I was talking about a process of over delivering, and she mentioned to me that, she's over delivering with her clients, and I could sense it was like perhaps potentially exhausting her. And my concern was that maybe this could be one contributing factor to, the onset of burnout if it didn't stop. So we had to have a conversation about it, and I thought it might be helpful to share some of that with you. Over-delivering is not about doing more. To me, it's a process that I use in my business, and it's about exceeding my clients' expectations. It's about, for me, it's about, just exceeding their expectations. It's about thinking, what could I do that could go beyond what they're expecting? I really want my clients to say sometimes like, oh, wow, or is this for me? Or, hey, that really worked. I want to create, and if you've ever worked with me as a client, you'll be familiar with this, but I really love to surprise and delight. So I love this, it's something that I do. It's just a value that I have as a person, as a business coach, as a private practice owner. I just love to surprise and delight, okay? I really, really do. And so it's one of, I guess, my approaches to business. I love it. And for me, it falls under that idea of over-delivering. Because if I'm surprising somebody and they're feeling delighted by it, it means by definition that they've received something from me, whether it was an experience perhaps, or whether it was a tangible thing, or whether it's a service or something that's gone beyond what they were expecting. And it's in a good way that's made them feel a little bit, oh, this is lovely. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. Now, I didn't actually have a formal process around it, when I first started doing this. It was just something that was on my heart to do. I was just like, I was sitting there. It was, when did I first, I'm just thinking back, maybe just before COVID, so 2019. I was there and I was working with some beautiful, therapists in private practice, some social workers at the time. And I just thought to myself, like, I really want to do something that they're not expecting that would make them feel, surprised and delighted. What could I do? I did some things and got a really lovely, beautiful reaction, right? They were surprised and delighted, and hearing their feedback, reading their notes, seeing their emails, getting the messages, things like that. It energized me. And then I decided this is just something that I want to do now. And I do it. I don't advertise that I do it. I mean, you're hearing it now because it's not that I'm advertising that I'm doing it. It's that I'm trying to share a process with you. But I don't advertise it. So I don't say it on any of my sales pages for anything. It's just something, it's my own little treat. It's my own little secret. It's my own little special thing that I love to do. But it doesn't create bucket loads of extra work. What I've found is that as a result of, me being like this and using this in my business from time to time, and I don't use it all of the time and don't use it with every client because it wouldn't be appropriate and stuff like that. But I find that it really, 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 really helps my business to be known, build a good reputation, stand out from the others, and become memorable because people don't forget when I've over-delivered. And the other thing too is that it's through the surprise and delight for my business that it adds value, right? I think a lot of the times as practitioners, we get in our heads and we think value is about dollars and value is about, the dollar amount and the dollar worth and things like that. But actually value is very, very subjective. What's valuable to one person is not going to be valuable to another. Okay. To me, having time alone is very, very valuable. But to other people, it's just not. To some people, like having a Dior lipstick, very, very valuable. Having the newest iPhone, very valuable. To me, not so much, right? So it's very subjective, this idea of value. When you're trying to build a business where you're telling yourself you must provide value, I think you set yourself up for failure because how can you when it's a subjective thing, right? It's like saying that you want to make your business affordable and so you undercharge, but affordability is also different from person to person to person, right? You might be undercharging, but there is still always going to be people that can't afford it. In fact, even if you charge $10, and you've heard me speak about this multiple times, when I charged $10, there were people who couldn't afford it, and you can't work for nothing. So I think this other way might be an option for some of you, because when you create an experience for a client, I think that experience becomes something that they really remember. And then when the time comes for you to part ways and they go off to the next therapist or the next social worker or the next psychologist, the next counsellor, they're kind of expecting that person is also going to surprise and delight or over deliver. And when that doesn't happen, it can do things for your business and for the other business. So that client is then going to perhaps return to you because they're realizing they got a better service, or they're realizing that they appreciated or liked or valued your service better. It's memorable, it's made you stand out, all those kinds of things. And it's not about you giving more. So here's what I want to say to that. Over-delivering is not piling loads more stuff onto people. The other day I was on Facebook and this ADHD bundle popped up in my feed and it was huge. there was a gorgeous mock-up for it. It had lots of, different things. It had the image of the computer and image of workbooks and worksheets and stuff like that. And then a great big circle. It said that there was over 620 things. And straight away, I was just like, no. It was clear to me that the person who created this bundle wasn't neurodivergent. They didn't understand their audience. They didn't understand the market that they were selling their stuff to, because I think it's like highly unlikely that somebody with ADHD wants 620 PDFs downloaded into their Dropbox. I mean, who is ever going to have time to read all those ebooks and workbooks and do all those worksheets? It's not going to happen. It's overwhelming. And here's the thing. If you think that over-delivering means giving more and more and more stuff to people, just be careful, because depending on who you're working with and what you're giving, it's possible that you might just be adding to their overwhelm, to their stress, to their anxieties, to their feelings of, not good enoughness and things like that, because now they're feeling swamped. They're feeling pressure to get through the stuff and to talk to you about the stuff and everything. And what can happen is, as a result of that, is when people feel like it's just too much, it's really normal for them to withdraw. And you might see that as being ghosted. You might see that as, a client dropping out, clients not booking further appointments, no longer opening your emails, things like that is just too much for them. That's what a client can experience if you think that over-delivering means giving them loads more stuff. What you can experience is, exhaustion, unless you're really loving it and you're in flow. Exhaustion because you now have to come up with things, and then you have to create them, and then you have to market them, and then you have to do you know what I mean? It's like all of these extra steps, and it's a lot of work for you. As I said, this person who put together this bundle of 620 ebooks and workbooks and guides and worksheets and stuff like that, I would say if they sat down and they did this all by themselves manually, and that would have taken, could you imagine how long that would take? I'm guessing they probably used a lot of AI to help generate this stuff, or maybe they're in a PLR membership where they can just go and buy all of the stuff and they can rebrand it and sell it as their own. In which case, hopefully, they customized it and personalized it for their clients. But it's just a lot. So, in my experience, I think my first encounter with this whole idea of over-delivering happened many years ago when I was at a hairdresser. I used to go regularly and I used to get foils, and it's a thing, right? Like when you go to the hairdresser, I don't know about you, but usually I'm there for a couple of hours or a few hours. It takes time for them to do the things, and then you're there for an hour or so, perhaps while the foils are doing their thing and setting and the colour is taking or not. You get the hair shampoo, you get a hair treatment, you get the trim or the cut, the restyle, the blow dry or the straighten, all of the things. So it takes hours, right? And so ever since I was a teenager, I was always spending hours at the hairdresser. And then one day I went to a hairdresser, and after they put my hair in foils, they said to me, "Would you like a coffee?" And it was a cappuccino. And it was when cappuccinos were first starting to become a thing, right? And I was so surprised. And I said, "Oh, okay." And I expected that I was going to be paying for it, but no, it was just a little extra. That was my first experience. And then that kind of made me feel really good. Another experience that I had was a new massage place opened up, right? I love going for massages, and a new massage place opened up, and I went, had a massage. I booked in to, I think, get my head and shoulders done. And then the guy, he was like, yeah, come in, lay down, da 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 da. I thought, why am I laying down for head and shoulders? And then he started like massaging my back and my arms, and I was saying to him, no, I'm just here for head and shoulders. And he said, no, it's just extra on the house, treat for you, to give you a sample of what it might be like. And that was a lovely treat, things like that. Another time I went to a hairdresser and I was offered champagne. It was like 2 PM. I was offered champagne. I was like, no, I've got to drive. And she's like, you're going to be here another, 2 hours at least. It'll be well and truly out of your system. So I had a champagne, and they even put a strawberry in it for me. That's what I mean. It's like these little extras. When I had my business down on Nepean Highway in Frankston at the Quest building, one of my little surprise and delights was I went to Kmart, and they sell, I don't know, like I haven't been to Kmart. Like I'm pretty much into hermit mode at the moment, so I don't go out that much. Everything I do is online wherever possible. But Kmart used to sell packets of books, notebooks, and I think I used to buy them in packs of, 4 or something like that for $2, and they had rose gold on them at the time. And so I got packets of the 4 notebooks, and then I bought packets of matching pens that had some rose gold, decorative stuff on. I also bought wrapping paper and curling ribbon. No, I had raffia. Yes, I got the natural sort of raffia, and I think that was it. And what I did was I would wrap up 1 notebook and 1 pen, and I would give it to all of my new clients when they were leaving their first session. And they would always be surprised and delighted. They were like, oh, what's this? And I say, it's something to support you on your journey. Use this to, make notes of things that you might want to talk about, things that happen, realizations, any journaling, ideas, inspo, whatever it is that you might want to, unpack when we catch up in our next session. And guess what? This worked out so well that I'm going to say probably about 50% of them used to bring the notebook and their pen to future sessions and would have written stuff down. Now, that was a very, very different experience as a practitioner to when I used to give out the CBT worksheets, and I would say, yeah, do this for homework, and then they would never bring them back. Or if they did, it was like very unusual for somebody to bring it back. Like just getting homework back from clients, notoriously difficult. Yet when I gave them this little exercise book and pen, almost half of them were doing homework of their own volition. So it really helped to, I guess, support them in getting more from the work that we were doing. It really helped to boost engagement and attendance and things like that. But it became something that was memorable. And I had the experience of where clients finished with me. They might have moved on, whatever, I don't know, they would just finish with me, and then at some point they'd come back, and not all of them, but the ones that did, they would come back and they would say, oh, I went and saw somebody else, but it wasn't the same as when I was working with you, stuff like that. The other thing that I used to do for surprise and delight was I used to, in a client's last session, I used to get a bowl of lint balls. And we used to have lint balls and, coffee or water or tea or whatever they wanted in the last session, just to kind of have a nice way of tying it up. And then they used to get like you could get like 4 packs back then. I don't know if you still can, but you could get like a little 4-pack of lint balls. And so they just used to get that just as a little, sort of on your way token of like, yeah, go and celebrate, go and enjoy, like, over delivering doesn't have to mean giving tangible things. So if you work online, there are other ways that you might be able to over deliver. That could look like, I guess, quicker responses to things, responding to an email or an SMS or a phone call more quickly than perhaps you usually would. That can feel like over delivering. It might look like, I don't know, maybe you heard something, saw something, found something. You might want to send an email to the client and just say, hey, you were talking about how you really wanted to start mindfulness meditation, and I just saw this YouTube playlist of mindfulness meditation music when I was looking for somebody else. I thought it would be perfect for you as well. Here's a link. So it's been thoughtful. That's what I mean. It's like the client's not expecting to get that little email from you saying that, hey, I found this really cool thing. I thought, based on our last conversation, that you might find it really, really helpful. Just wanted to share it with you. The client's going to get that, not expecting it, and think, oh my gosh, that is so nice. And they're going to click the link and maybe they're going to like it or not, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not so important. What the client's going to take away is that you were, I guess, showing up for them, that they're on your radar. And who doesn't want to be on someone's radar, right? It's a nice feeling to be considered. So anyway, I just want to share the experiences that I had with the hairdresser and the massage person and stuff. But I'm sure you've had experiences as well with somebody sort of going a little bit beyond what you expected in terms of the service, right? Oh, another time too was I really don't like going to the dentist. I mean, I know some people are fine with it, but it's not my favorite thing. I know there are also lots of people who it's not their favorite thing either, but I can remember there was a dentist that I went to, and at the end I went and paid all of the things, and then I was leaving and they called me back and they said, oh, here you go, here's your thing. And they gave me a little toiletry bag, and it had some toothpaste, it had a toothbrush, like a special toothbrush, it had floss, it had a little bottle of Listerine mouthwashy type stuff, and it had a little card in there with my name on it. It said, personalized care pack for Brooklyn. And that made me feel like, oh my gosh, so while I was in there getting all of this stuff done, somehow they're making up this little pack for me, that made me feel really, really good. Like, it had the toothbrush with the bristles that were going to be the right ones for my teeth. It had the mouthwash that was going to be the right ones for my gums. Like, all of this, thought went into it, and I wasn't expecting it. And everything in it was full sized as well. It wasn't even samples. And it just made me feel like, yeah, it made me feel special. And do I go back to that dentist now? I do. And that dentist now has set the benchmark for other dentists, because now I'm thinking, what's the service going to be like here? As I said, it's not always about tangible things. It can be about the how you work. So maybe it's, if you normally do a 50-minute appointment, and let's say all of your appointments start on the hour, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and you run them for 50 minutes so that you've got that 10-minute space to get a drink of water, go to the loo, quickly type up some notes, things like that. But maybe, surprise and delight, maybe the over-delivering is saying to a client who's almost about to have the breakthrough, but is aware of the time, saying to them, it's okay, I can still go for 5 minutes, please continue, right? That's very different. That's coming from a very, very different place, because when you do it in that way, that client is then thinking, wow, My appointment was meant to finish right this minute and she's giving me extra time. That feels really good. What a surprise. It feels lovely. That's a very different energy for the client, and it's also a different energy for you because you're doing it because you want to. You're doing it because it's like a gift. It's like a treat. It's like something a little bit extra. That feels good for you to do, right? The highest form of abundance is giving. When I say it's a different energy, what I'm talking about is sometimes some women like to go overtime by a long time for their clients, and it doesn't come from a good place. It happens when maybe they raise their fees and they don't feel great about raising their fees, and so I call it detaining a client. They will keep the client longer. They will let the client go instead of a 60-minute session. Maybe they'll let the client go for 90, and they feel like they had to. They feel like they should have. They feel like doing this compensates or justifies for the raised session fee. So it's not coming from a great space, and it's not feeling great for her. And it's probably not feeling great for the client either, because if they're not expecting it, they're probably maybe not as present because perhaps they're thinking about, geez, I'm only in a 2-hour park. Am I going to get a ticket now? I've got to pick Johnny up from, soccer and now I'm like short on time. Like if the client's not expecting it and you're doing it out of your own, not imposter syndrome, but maybe you're doing it out of your own mindset around it not being fair that you charge this for your sessions now, or it's not fair that, all of the things, right? If there's money mindset stuff going on, then I just forgot what I was going to say, but you get the point. And then, you might come out of that session feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that's over. Like, I'm exhausted now, but I'm glad that I did it. I'm just super tired, and oh no, now my next one's going to be here any minute. And that's when we start to see women like not really enjoying as much being in the business. And that is when we can become, some of us, more, I guess, susceptible to things like feeling burned out. Or saying, I think I want to add passive income now because I'm just so tired, and things like that, right? Instead of building passive income as a revenue pathway into the business as part of the business plan, and this is what we're going to do, and we're leading it. Now it becomes like it's something we've got to do because now we're just so exhausted all the time. So over delivering is not doing more. Don't feel like you got to go and create bucket loads of PDFs. You don't. It can be something small. It can be a check-in SMS, right? In between sessions, it might just be a random check-in message, just to say to a client, hey, it's Brooklyn, just wanted to send you a quick message to check in. How you going? Right? That's going to feel great for a client. Again, you've got to do what feels right for you. You've got to do what's ethical. You've got to do what works for the type of connection or rapport or relationship you have with a client. I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to do it with every single client, but there are certainly some clients that would appreciate that and find it really lovely. And as I said, it's those things, it's becoming memorable, that helps with client retention. And it also helps build out the business in future, because if, for example, a client found you for therapy through a third party, maybe it was a doctor, or maybe it was, an NDIS support coordinator or something like that, they're going to go back to that person who made the referral and say, oh my gosh, guess what? I got this notebook and pen. Or guess what? It was so lovely. Yes, I am still seeing Brooklyn. And hey, look at this. She sent me like just this message out of the blue just to check in with me. None of my previous psychologists ever did that. So yeah, this is like awesome. And that referring doctor is then going to remember that. And next time they need to refer someone, if they can send them your way, they probably will, because it reflects well on them to make referrals to businesses that look after their clients. So it's kind of, I guess, retail or perhaps hospitality, you might call it customer service and things like that. I don't think that that's what we call it in our industry. Maybe you would call it client care. But it's an approach that I mentioned many moons ago on a podcast episode that I was talking about recently with somebody, as I said, and I think she misunderstood what I meant by over-delivering. So I just thought, what a great opportunity to explain what it is and to help you. So some things, I've got some suggestions apart from the ones that I've already said, but some things might be like little free upgrades on things, little added extras here and there, in Practice Momentum, right? So the program where I provide business coaching and stuff like that, right? So it was and is a business coaching program, but there's absolutely surprise and delight because they also get a portal, right? And in that portal, they get access to every single resource that I've made for any of them. And they can use all of those or not. They can see it as a library, just go in, take what they need. So they never have to go looking for things. They can always just go in, grab what they need, right? That's a big surprise for many of them. And usually if I'm talking to them about it before they log in and I'm saying, you're going to get access to this thing now, when they do access it, 9 times out of 10, they're sending me a message or an email to say, oh my gosh, like I'm just going to binge all of this stuff, or I had no idea how much stuff was in here. Oh my gosh, this is a gold mine. Somebody referred to it as Aladdin's cave. And it just makes me feel really, really good. And the other thing that I do for surprise and delight with them is I keep adding to it. So while they're working with me one-on-one, they're in their own little program, they also have access to this little vault, storage unit, container, whatever you want to call it, where, what I make for all the others goes in, they can grab it, and it's constantly getting added to, right? And like, for example, I put all of my Etsy process in there. I put all of my Booked and Better subscription process in there, showing them everything over my shoulder. This is how I set it up. This is how I did this. This is what I didn't do over here. And then I give them, like a framework, a worksheet, a tool, something that can help them do it if they want to, right? So it's all there. So it's like constantly getting added to. They're really excited about that. Other little things as well, like, they're just like little surprises from time to time, and they're always surprised, and I want them to feel surprised and delighted. I care about my clients very, 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 very much, and surprise and delight looks different for each of them, right? And it's, as I said, it's not something that I ever advertise because I don't want it to be expected. I just want it to come out of the blue when they're not expecting it. That's the whole point, right? So even little emails. But something else that I do for surprise and delight is, I have like a way that the business coaching is structured, and sometimes I'll go outside of that. And again, it's something that they really enjoy, and it's something that they really do value because they've told me how much they value it, right? But you have your clients, right? You're not working with women in private practice who are running businesses. You're working with people who are grieving or might have ADHD or, you know, whatever sort of path they're on, right? You're working with those clients. So for you, it's going to look a little bit different what your surprise and delight is, but have a little bit of a think about it. One of the best things that you can do for surprise and delight is show them the quickest way of experiencing something, right? Quick wins are a beautiful way of surprise and delight. And a quick win also builds motivation, builds trust, builds rapport, deepens rapport, all those kinds of things. And when all of that's happening, your retention improves. When your retention improves, your anxiety lessens, the imposter syndrome lessens. You don't have to do, desperation marketing, right? There's no panic marketing. There's less for you to do in that sense. And you get to go back to doing the work you want to do, right? With your clients. And that's something that's really, 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 really special. And, just something else that I do for surprise and delight, just by way of example, is like even this week, I've got a product, right? I've been selling this product for, I think, 4 years now. It's just templates, right? It's business templates for private practice owners who are counsellors, psychologists, and social workers. It used to be in a Dropbox folder. And then there were people who wanted it in Google Docs. So then there was, a Dropbox folder and a Google folder. And I guess over the years, as things were getting added to it, like there was no real organisation or anything like that. But I used to, like if people said to me, I bought the forms and I was hoping that there'd be this in there and there wasn't, I just started making them and adding them in, right? And then I realised, I'm not telling anybody that they're getting new forms added and maybe they might need these forms too. So then I did start telling people periodically, hey, over the last 6 months or over the last 3 months, all these extra things have been added. Originally, it was just 4 or 5 forms and now it's over 52 forms, including very expensive contracts and agreements for things like NDIS and independent contractors and stuff like that, right? Anyway, recently I decided that I'm just going to give this a complete facelift. And so that's what I did. I gave it a beautiful facelift and I was so excited about it. And I sent everybody an email. And then just in case they didn't get the email, I also made an announcement about it in my community. And that felt really, 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 really good too. And, already I started to get emails back from people saying, oh my gosh, how do you do it? This is like the 4th or 5th upgrade that I've had and I appreciate it. And this was such a good investment. And you know what? It's low ticket. It's low ticket. And I love doing it because, again, it's just another example of over delivering. Other people don't do that. Other people are going to be like, here's version 1, and now here's version 2, or you can buy these forms separately over here. But I like to surprise and delight and just, what a treat to be able to just be in your email one day, click on it and see a little, GIF saying, hey, you've just been upgraded again. That's fun. That's a surprise and a delight. And then to be able to go in and see the thing and see how, oh my gosh, this is so much better than it was. This is really easy for me to use now. I can find everything really clearly and easily. I've got forever access. I know I'm going to get more forms. That's a treat. That's surprise. That's delight. And that's why this bundle has made so many sales. So many sales. As I said, it's a low ticket product. I think, don't quote me on it because I don't have it up in front of me right now, but I haven't updated the sales page for it. So don't go and look at it. If you want to get the forms, let me know, and I will give you a link to the new information for what they are now and what all the things are now, because as I said, I only finished it this week, just a couple of days ago, and I haven't had the energy to sit down and redo a whole entire sales page. So it's the old sales page, new bundle. What was I going to say? I forget what I was going to say. Oh yeah. When I was going in to update the fulfillment for people who do buy it so that they get the new bundle, not the old one, is that I noticed, so I was selling it on the same platform. I had 2 or 3 different options for people to buy it. And one of the options that I was looking at showed that it had made $24,000. So I should go and see what it made on the other 2 options as well. But that's what I mean. Like, this is, and I make them, and I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I just want to share with you, like, for those of you who do want to do passive income, did I want to make admin forms? No. Did I think admin forms was like soulful and on my heart and had anything at all to do with things that I like manifesting, like helping women with their money and making sure that they can get off their Centrelink payments and become, financially independent, financially secure, all of those types of things? No. At the start, when I first realized, oh, okay, I can make stuff and sell it, I was making stuff that I was into and that felt good for me, but it wasn't moving. And then moving in terms of making sales. But then when I got out of my own way and I started listening to what my clients were saying they wanted and stuff like that, look what happened. Like, it was $20,000 or $24,000 from one sales page on this one product over 4 or 5 years, right? I think it's 4 years, but do you see what I mean? Like, that's, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 coming in every year, and I barely touch it. When requests come through, they don't come through that often, but when they do, I just go and I update it. I let them know, listen, just give me 2 working days. I just go and update it, and I'll send an email, but that whole thing doesn't take me too long. And it's totally worth it for me to do, because when people buy it, they tell me that it came through word of mouth. So I think that it's this surprise and delight that really helps me also with my passive-ish income streams. So always think about, what could you be doing that could create surprise and delight? Let that be an aspect for you to enhance the client's experience of working with you, to facilitate and promote engagement, attendance, outcomes perhaps, of course retention, and to help take some of the pressure off the hamster wheel that some of you are on at the moment of, I need more clients, I better run a Google ad. I need more clients, I better run a Google ad. It's not about that. It's about looking at, why are you finding that you're constantly needing to top up your clients? Go back to that. What I've shared with you is going to work for some of you, but others, no, it's not going to be your solution, because there's something else that's a problem, right? For you, the problem could be we just don't have good processes in place. For you, it might be something around, I'm just trying to think what else. Mindset, right? Might be around that. Might be around education. Might be around skills. Those kinds of things. So this is going to work for some of you. For others, it's something to consider. It's absolutely not going to hurt your practice to do it. But it's one of so many ways that you can make your practice more booked and better. Okay? So that's the episode, and I really, 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 really hope that it was so helpful. In terms of other things that are kind of happening behind the scenes, as I said, I've just spent a lot of time giving that a revamp and an overhaul. The other thing too is social media. So I closed my Instagram account. I can't remember if I told you guys that or not, but I did. It had 8K followers. I closed it, got rid of it. Oh, I did. I mentioned it on the last podcast. And now it's all about Facebook. And I've just been trying to, I guess, lean more into how I want to show up on Facebook. And guess what? As a result of doing that, this week I've received not one, but 2 recognitions from Facebook. So on Monday or Tuesday, I got a badge. The badge is a new badge, and it said that I'm being recognised for great content, for creating good content, that it sees me as a content creator, which is lovely, that I'm getting rewarded for my good content. And guess what? That reward is they're going to show my content to more people who are not in my audience. So on my Facebook personal profile and on my Facebook business profile, hang on, actually, let me just click out of GarageBand for 1 second. I'm just going to double check because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm just checking. Okay, so I've got 7,000 followers on my personal profile. On my business page, there are 5.4 thousand followers, right? So 7 and 5, I think that's 12, isn't it? 0.4, so say 12,500 followers. So because Facebook have said, okay, the content that you're sharing lately is doing great. People are liking it, they're engaging with it, people are sharing it, all those kinds of things. We are going to reward you with more reach. And we're going to do that for 7 days as a little bonus for you. Now, this is so valuable for my business, and I'll tell you why. I don't know about you, but if you've ever run a Facebook ad, they can be a friggin' nightmare, because if you don't know what you're doing, you end up spending a lot of money for no results, okay? And when I say don't know what you're doing, not only about the ad setup, which is always changing, the Facebook ads algorithm isn't today what it was a month ago, what it was the month prior, like it's always changing. You have to understand, how to make an ad graphic that's going to stop a scroll. Really hard if you've never learned, and if you've never been trained, chances are you're going to go into Canva and you're going to try and make something yourself and pray that it's going to work, and it won't, because you don't know, do I need to include an image or not? Do I need to include a heading or not? What copy needs to go on it? There's all this learning that you've got to do around things that seem little, like the call to action button on an ad. You get to pick from so many. It's going to be fill out the form, download, learn more, call now, all of these kinds of things. If you don't know the right one to choose, you're just going to choose the one you think you should, right? Which might be download. And it's going to affect your results and all this kind of stuff, right? So, and usually when we start running ads, depending on who you learn from, some people will say, oh, you can run them at $5 a day. But let's be real, $5 a day, it's not going to get shown to that many people, right? $5 a day, you're probably going to be getting your ads shown to minimal people, which means minimal conversions, because it's a numbers game. It happens on percentages. The more money you throw at a Facebook ad, if all the planets are aligned, and if you know what you're doing with the ad, like you know how to set up a custom audience. You know how to set up a target audience. You've already got data that's been tested. You're doing split tests of different images and different copy. Even the headline, that first little preview of text that comes up on the ad before somebody clicks, right? That first little sentence, you've got to test that to see does the ad work better if it says one thing or something else? All this testing takes time, right? So when people are saying, I'm going to run a Facebook ad for my business, I'm like, don't. Unless you've done it before and you know what you're doing, it takes time for you to, like my approach at the moment, I think I did go through it on a different podcast episode, but in case I haven't, I will just explain it quickly again. My approach at the moment is I have, what have I got? I've got 2 lots of copy for the one freebie. So the freebie is a website checklist for therapists in private practice. That's the freebie. The freebie is a lead magnet. It's going to build my audience by getting people's email addresses, and delivering the free thing, and hopefully introducing them to things that they might not be aware exist, like the podcast, like the community, things like that. That's the purpose of it. But the actual advertisement itself, I'm testing 2 versions of copy that I wrote. ChatGPT did not write it. I have written it. They talk about the same thing but differently, just 2 different styles of writing, 2 different approaches. So I've got these 2 different bits of copy over here, and then over there I have 4 different images for the ad. So let's say, one is pink, one's blue, one's green, one's yellow. My ad at the moment is I am using the yellow ad with the first version of copy. That's one ad. Then I'm using the yellow ad with the second version of copy. That's a second ad. Then I'm using the pink with the first copy, the pink with the second copy, all of that. And then I'm doing like different combinations again. So that's how you start running your ads. And you would normally start running them at $5 a day, and you'll do that for 2 or 3 days, and you would see which combinations are doing the best. So it's going to cost, I think I will be paying because I've got to activate it today. But I think I'm going to be paying hang on, I'm in my ads manager now actually. Let me just see. Okay, what have I got? I've got ad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. No, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So I've got 8. It's going to cost me $80, I think, for the whole duration. I'm just going to do it for 2 days. Check all these different combinations. And then after the 2 or 3 days, if I come to 48 hours and there's not enough information for me to determine which one seems to be working the best, I'll let it go for another day. When it gets to day 3, then hopefully there's a clear winner or 2 or 3. Then I will turn off all of the other ads, and then I will keep these 3 going after I've investigated. So then I will do a deep dive into each of we call them winning ads. I'll do a closer look at those. I'll have a look at the metrics to see, okay, which one got the most views? Which one had the most impression? Which one got the most clicks? Which one got the most downloads? Which one did people spend the most time on? All that information is available to me. Which audience looked at which one the most or the least? And then I can use that information to improve the winning ads. I can run them again, and maybe instead of, $5 a day, I'm going to do them for $10 a day. They're going to get shown to different people. And then I will do that for a period of time. Maybe that'll go for a week or so. And then I'll get data again, and I'll be able to see, okay, of these three, which one seems to be working the best? Then I'm going to go deep diving into the metrics again, look at why. Do you know what I mean? It's a process. It takes time. You got to know what you're doing. It's a learning curve because it's always changing. It can be quite technical, all of these things, and it's a process. And there's no guarantee while you're in that testing phase of even while people are downloading stuff that they're going to become paying clients, right? Because for me, I'm doing like ads that are called lead gen, for lead generation, right? A lead generation ad on Facebook or Instagram is about finding someone who's not in your world, showing that person who's never heard of you, who you are, what you've got, how you can help, and that person then feeling like they want to get your thing and they download the thing. That is called lead generation, right? That's how you grow your audience. You want to be growing your audience all the time because you can fatigue your audience with offers, right? So maybe you've got an audience of counseling clients and you're constantly coming up with maybe passive income things, right? Maybe it's always a new journal or it's affirmation cards, or maybe you're doing courses and programs and you're selling those, but they're going all the time to the same people. Those people become fatigued. They stop buying. You need to be constantly calling in new people. This is why audience growth is so important. This is why we have freebies on our website. It's not enough to have a freebie on your website though. You've got to drive traffic to it. So you have to be finding ways of letting people know that you've got the thing, right? Anyway, so when it comes to Facebook giving me this badge saying, we're recognizing you, we're going to show your stuff to people who are not in your audience, it's like I'm getting free paid advertising. And guess what? Facebook are going to target people for me based on who's looking at it, who's engaging with it, who's spending time on it, who's liking it, who's loving it, who's sharing it, who's taking further action, who might be clicking around on my profile, who might be joining my groups, who might be clicking on my Etsy store link, right? All of that type of stuff is getting measured and tracked all the time by Facebook. And Facebook is going to say to people who are similar to everybody who's been taking those actions, Facebook call it behaviors, taking those behaviors with my stuff, they're going to give it to them. Now that is pure gold, because for me to try and find that audience myself, it's going to take time and money. And I have to know what I'm doing. This is why, when people are like, oh, I'm going to start running some Facebook ads, don't. It's better if you can do good content. So anyway, I stopped my Instagram. I started focusing more on, I just decided I'm just going to be more of myself. And I want to put stuff on Facebook that's more of me, right? So that's what I've been doing. And so I've been given I'm just going to call it free advertising because it's free reach. It goes for 7 days. I'm very excited about it. And then what happened was a couple of days after that, so that happened Monday or Tuesday, and then Thursday or Friday, I woke up and there was another one. And this time it was a badge for, I don't remember the name of it. I think they called it fan engagement or fan favorite or something like that. And they explained it by saying that, even more people are sharing it, engaging with it, spending more time on it, all of this kind of stuff. And so because of that, we're now going to add an extra 7 days of what I'm calling free advertising to my ideal clients. Facebook already knows who my ideal clients for my business are based on what's happening. And it's just so good because that would normally take me so long to figure that out for myself. So here's the thing. When it comes to marketing, don't think you've got to be selling. Don't think you've got to be promoting. You don't. What you do need to be doing, I think what's working for me, what's always worked for me, is just being helpful. Other people will say get into service. I have issues with the word serve. I don't like it. I don't like the word service. It makes me feel like, I don't know, there's some kind of power imbalance or something. It's probably very triggering from, my upbringing or something, but I don't like the idea of being a server. I want to help. That's genuinely what I want to do. And I feel like when I help, I become known as somebody that can help and that does help. And where I can't, I say that I can't. And I will always make a recommendation where I can for something that might be able to. So you can have the fully booked diary. You can have more bookings in the diary. You can do less marketing. Start thinking about what your clients really, 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 really want. Like, I read a website yesterday, and this website was really, really great, but it was all very flowery language, and it felt to me reading it. Now, whether this is true for her or not, what's true for me as a potential client visiting her website was it felt generic. It felt like I'd read this stuff on so many other pages. There was a lot of cliches throughout, all the stuff about feeling seen and heard. There's a lot of repetitive dialogue in there. And I remember just feeling like I'm not feeling connected. And it upset me because I can see through it. I can see glimpses of her in other pages of the website that was so powerful. There are some sections on her website that weren't written by ChatGPT that she's actually written. She's, I'm going to say, because I haven't seen the language that she used, I'm going to say there's a term that I feel maybe it's possible she could have coined, or she could definitely move into this space, through even more refinement of her niche. But when I read the bits that were clearly written by her, I really connected with it. Even though I'm not her ideal client and I don't have any experience with what she works with in terms of presenting problems and stuff like that. But man, it resonated with me and it was so powerful. And I was like, the whole website needs to be like this, because it was so, you could see this was her, and it was that connection. The connection was formed and created, but there it was, just this tiny little glimpse in one or two little parts of her website, which had way too much content, which hadn't been clearly organized, which made it really difficult for people to find the information that they wanted. Things like that. It had beautiful branding, beautiful colors, beautiful fonts. She had clearly tried so hard to create this website. It's abundantly clear that she was born to do this work, but it was also abundantly clear that, like so many of us, when we first start doing our marketing, we just don't know, right? We don't know. And I don't know how it happens that we just start relying on other people or other things or AI. But something shifts. It's like your essence evaporates when something's written by the AI or when you start to generalize. And we do it because We don't know what we're doing. We look to other people's websites and we think they must, or we have imposter syndrome, or, all of those kinds of things. So I do believe that when we write stuff for our website, one of the things that's really going to set you apart in marketing, it's called a USP, a unique selling point. And for us, we call it niching. And we also call it messaging. So there might be, like I was giving this person an example yesterday. There might be like, there's so many more private practice coaches coming onto the market now, right? If you go and have a look at all, I don't believe in competition. I think there's room for everyone, there's space for everyone. I don't see why we can't all get along. But go and have a look at other people who might also be serving the same clients, right? So if you're serving, I don't know, first responders with PTSD or something like that, and you've got fluff on your website, go and have a look at all the other websites that provide counselling or psychology or social work, whatever it is, for first responders. And you will notice that you get self-talk about it. You're going to be going, why are they doing it this way? That's not the way it needs to be done. Or you'll be thinking, I prefer this way. Or you'll be thinking, oh, that's really good. I didn't think of that. And you might get inspired. But whatever it is, you're going to come away from having a look, understanding more clearly how you do it differently. Because if you're using flowery, general, language, it's going to get lost in the white noise because a client's seen it everywhere else. Your practice is not memorable. And because your practice isn't memorable and it's now like just fallen into the same category as, oh, okay, all counsellors talk like this and do this, well, I'll just go then with the cheapest one. And we don't want people working with you because you're the Temu of counselling, right? We want people working with you because you're the right person for them and they're the right match for you. And so, niching, messaging, and these other things here around surprise and delight, over delivering, really support your clients and support your business and can help you take some of the pressure off yourself when it comes to having to find new clients. But if you're using social media, my advice based on my experience would be move away from the general stuff, start sharing more of what you think, your approach, how you're different. Like, tell me why I should work with you, right? Tell me why you're different. Show me how it's going to be different working with you than working with some of the others, right? Like even, I'm selling stuff on Etsy now, right? And I went and put the essential forms on there just the other day. And I had to go and have a look at what other people are selling forms for. And, I learned a lot from that exercise. One of the things that I learned was that there's not much originality. A lot of people are copying each other. They all look the same. They're all beige, some of them are better presented than others. It was all pretty much of a muchness, really. And I guess what I took away from that was don't do anything in beige because it's just going to get lost. So for that reason, my whole brand on Etsy is colourful and bright and playful and bubbly and fun. I'm like taking a stand against the beige stuff with the script font and the Arial or the Montserrat. And I'm trying to, I guess, really lean more into where's everybody at now, because I can see when I look at how other people are selling the forms, I can see straight away what they're missing, how I do it differently, all those kinds of things. And when you do something like that, have a look at how other practices support your clients, it helps you become more confident in your uniqueness because of your uniqueness. And then that informs the messaging, and that informs how you then, I guess, communicate, convey to potential clients that, yes, you're the practice for them and you can absolutely help them, right? It's very, 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 very helpful to do. It does take, I guess, depending on who you are and your personality and things like that, it can be a little bit daunting, I think, to go and have a look at other people who are in your niche and working with clients, but it is such a valuable exercise that you won't regret. So it's an opportunity for growth, and can certainly help you along the way in terms of your own marketing. So this episode today was to demystify and to clarify. You don't have to do more to support your clients in working with you and retaining clients. You don't have to do more. I also want to share with you about surprising and delighting. And I also wanted to share with you what's working for me with marketing now. So I hope that this was helpful. I'm always going to say to you, before you spend time on your socials, get the website working. I will take a screenshot of this and I will add it to a blog at some point. I use GoDaddy website builder. It gives me a little dashboard comparing my website to other websites in my industry, my niche, and all of that sort of stuff. My needle on my little dashboard is on 97. It's almost unheard of. I know what I'm doing with a website, and believe you me, my website is not perfect. It's kind of like, I don't know, you know that old saying about how a builder's house is always in a state of disrepair, or the mechanic's car is, never on the road, it's never running. It's kind of like that with me and my website. I'm constantly, forever, helping other women with theirs and making sure that they get theirs where it needs to be. And for some reason, it's just rarely on my radar to do mine. But the reason that mine looks different and the reason that it converts so highly is because I know what needs to go into it. I know how to write it. I know the stuff that has to happen behind the scenes for it, the stuff that, we don't talk about, that's a little bit boring. Like, I understand that. The women in Momentum learn all of that. I recently made a training for them 3 or 4 weeks ago. A bunch of them went through it and they did it. They're already getting you inquiries. Those inquiries are ideal clients. Those ideal clients, for the most part, are now paid clients. They're booking. So again, it's not only, I guess, the visual, what we see, it's also understanding what has to happen behind the scenes. And it just, for me, I just happen to be really good with that. But I do need to do things like I've got to update my photos. I need to update my layout. Mine needs its own facelift, but I'm less worried about how it's looking because it's performing. I had 4,000 visitors to my website in the last 10 weeks. It's just off the charts. It's doing so well. So always start with the website first. From there, once the website is working, so not you've published it and then move on. No, publish the website, sit on it for 30, 60 or 90 days. Ideally, I want you to sit on it for 90 so that we can get an idea, give Google a chance to do its thing, show it to people, all of that. It takes time. If you're not getting inquiries in the first 30 days, it's not that you've done anything wrong. It's just time, right? Sit on it. If you're wanting to work on something else, then I would be focusing on your Psychology Today profile. It has a great SEO behind it that will help your practice be seen and found very, very helpful. So even if people are visiting the Psychology Today profile, they might not be converting from that, right? But they might come along to the website at some point and see the website, they're going to convert from that. But they will be shown the website as a result of the SEO that's behind Psychology Today. And you don't have to be a psychologist to be on there. You can be like, I have been on Psychology Today as a supervisor. I have been on Psychology Today as an EAP provider. There are play therapists on Psychology Today. There are speech therapists, OTs. Like, it's not limited to just counselling, psychology, mental health. So yeah, get yourself on that directory. So be website first. Then I would say Psychology Today. And then I would say focus on, after the website's working, start focusing on doing something that's going to get quick wins, but also in the background be building something out that's going to future-proof your business, right? Future-proofing the business is usually long-form content like YouTube videos, for example, or podcasts. They're ways to future-proof because they tend to have great conversion rates. When people do feel like it's time for them to reach out, not all the time, but often you will be the one that they reach out to because they've been listening, they've been following, they're in your world, they understand you, you're on the same page as them, all that kind of stuff. And there's no selling that you need to do. Like, usually it's just they'll reach out and say, do you have capacity? Are you taking on new clients at the moment? How do I get started? Where do I join? Stuff like that. So I would say definitely do that, because while longer form content takes longer to start building an audience, to start building inquiries, once it does, it's steady and it, for the most part, happens in the background. And then it's great, because what ends up happening is that's when you start getting those little notifications in your inbox that somebody's sent you a message, that somebody's booked in for the 15-minute call that you offer and things like that. And they're usually people that maybe you don't know, you're not familiar with the name, but when you connect with them, they will usually say they've been following you for years, they've been listening for the last 6 months, whatever it is. So there's already the trust, the knowing, the understanding, the connection from their part there. I had a really lovely email. Maybe I mentioned this in the last episode, I don't remember, but she said to me in the email, like, I feel like I'm reaching out to you like we're best friends because I've been following you on Facebook for a few years, right? That's what I mean. Like, you have to understand some things, some approaches take time, but they work. So this is what I mean by future-proofing the business. Had I not started doing the posting or the podcast, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was that it started, then those people wouldn't have found it, which means they wouldn't be my audience, which means they wouldn't be reaching out to me now to work with me, right? This is what I mean. Like, it's future-proofing your business. So yeah, but the approach that you use will be different for your private practice, based on all kinds of things, your niche, how you work, who you work with, all that kind of stuff. Like, it just might not be a good strategy for your private practice, depending on what you're doing or your personality or things like that, which is totally fine. There's going to be a different perfect strategy. And here's the other thing too. I shouldn't say perfect. What I mean is perfect for you now, because what you're feeling called to now, you're feeling called to now for a reason. And I think absolutely go with that if it's not from fear. But I've just forgotten what I was going to say. Oh yeah, but you're constantly going to be growing, right? It's like your website. It's never going to be finished, because you're always going to be updating it, changing it, tweaking it, right? It's never going to be finished. It's a living, breathing thing. Like your processes, like the business structure that you've got, it's going to be changing. Don't think that there's some end point, and because you haven't hit it yet, you must be behind. You're feeling like that because you're thinking there is an end point. There's not. Okay? There's not. When you work for somebody, they give you a task and there is a clear end point. They're going to say, we need you to see 6 clients and bill this many dollars and do all of these things. So it's very clear what the end is. But when you move into private practice, you don't have that, right? There is no end. The business is a living, breathing thing. It's going to grow and adapt and evolve as you and your clients grow and adapt and evolve. So please don't ever think that you're behind. Don't think everybody's further ahead. Stop comparing yourself to others. There is no end point, okay? It's just always very dynamic, and that's the beautiful thing. It's a very, very special thing. And I hope hearing that takes some pressure off some of you. Speaking of, I'm going to get going. Because I've been talking for a very long time, I imagine. I have no idea. But I'm going to get going. I hope that you have a really lovely weekend. Thank you so much for being part of my world. If you would like some support for your private practice, or you have questions about getting support with your private practice, or you're looking at all of my stuff and you're not sure where to begin, you can book a call. I'll put the link in the show notes. More than happy to have a quick conversation with you and point you in the right direction based on the needs of your business. But in order to do that, I need to ask you some questions to find out what the needs of the business are, because sometimes what you think they are, like you might say to me, oh yeah, I need more clients, but I need to figure out why does this business need more clients? What's going on? Is it this, that, which is why I've got to ask you some questions. Anyway, hope this was really helpful. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks for listening and being part of my world. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorm.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.